Hi guys, Sean from Plasticstarwars. In this video, I'll be running through the build process of the 1/48 scale Bandai X-Wing. As with all my builds, I usually start with painting the pilot figure first, and in this case I just used Tamiya acrylics together with thinner. For this build, I'm actually going for Red 3, which is Big's Darklight, his X-Wing. So he has like a unique helmet design, and I tried to simulate it with decal and some marker work. Next, I used a micro hand drill and drilled some holes into the dashboard of the cockpit. This is to prepare the cockpit for fiber optic lighting. So as you can see, I'm using the micro drill to drill holes to the side consoles as well. And over here I'm pointing out to the molded in details of the piping, which I'll be removing with the use of a pen knife. This is because I'm going to replace it with something that's a little bit more dimensional. Here you can see that I'm drilling holes at the start and end points of where the tubing is supposed to go, and the replacement tubing is actually just old guitar strings, because they have this look that's kind of perfect for it. Here at this stage I'm actually using some dollar store fiber optic strands, and what you do is you just crimple the end of each strand and pull it through those little holes that you've drilled. This is just so that they'll stay in place. And after all the fiber optics are installed, you simply use PVA glue or white glue to hold them in place. Now here you can see I've drilled a hole for the fiber optics of the top console to go through. On the underside, I've tried to carefully neaten the fiber optics and channeled them into a cut paper straw. And this paper straw will help to keep the LED in place later on. And now I'm preparing the R2 unit for lighting. So this is the main body of the R2 that's attached to the X-Wing. So I'm drilling a hole to allow fiber optics to go through. And before I work on the dome of R2, I painted him first. And this is the underside of R2's dome, and what I'm doing here is I'm removing the excess plastic to allow more space for my fiber optics. Here I'm drilling holes into R2's dome. And then I'm stringing the fiber optics through the holes that I just made. Now on the cockpit piece where R2 is supposed to sit, I've also drilled a hole so that the fiber optics can go through. I put some white glue on the inside of R2's dome, so I'm using a close pack to hold it in place while it dries. On the other side, I've taken a pen knife and cut a small hole to the side of the paper straw, and then I insert the fiber optics of R2 into that small hole. So it should be able to draw light from the LED here. And over here I'm removing the excess fiber optics before proceeding to do a quick light test to see if all the fiber optics made it without breakage. And everything looks good. Now for the LED that lights up the cockpit, it originally comes in a yellow LED, but I've replaced it to a white bulb because I think it's a lot more versatile. And And here you can see I'm installing the LED into that paper straw, and I'm trying to fit the whole cockpit assembly carefully onto the main fuselage. This is a very precarious stage because you can actually break some of the fiber optics if you're not careful. Thankfully everything went well. I did a quick test to see if all the electronics are still working, and to my relief it's all good. Now fast forward to where I've already completed the X-Wing build, and I've given it a primer coat as well as a base coat of Tamiya's AS20 Insignia White. And at this stage I've also plugged all the light leaks. I've also managed to get some details a bit more accurate to Red 3, such as the shape of the nose cone, as well as this round greebly detail at the back. It also has swapped engine cowlings compared to Red 5, and a shortened engine exhaust on the top right hand side. So now I'm going to use chipping fluid to demonstrate how I do some of the chipping effects. A reference picture that I'm looking at on the iPad is from this website called modelermagic.com. It's an invaluable source of reference material. Now here I'm using a rubber toothed brush, and I'm just gently removing the masking fluid to reveal the chips underneath. So I'm doing this for most of the panels, and here's the red stripe with chipping fluid, and it's the same process. So it's basically the same process for the entire ship and all the panels that requires it. Now here at this stage I've already finished painting most of the panels and the base colors. So I'm moving on to the red stripe markings on the wings. And at first I thought I could use back the decals, but it clearly wasn't working. So I ended up doing masking and chipping again. And although it took a bit more time, it's well worth the effort. Now once the model is fully painted, I'll usually give it a misting of white, just so that I can bring down the brightness of the colors and fade everything a little, because it looks more to scale then. And this is how I do my dark washes. It's basically just a mix of water with Tamiya acrylics. In this case I'm using black and browns, so it's not so harsh. And to top it off, I'll just add some detergent. This is just so that the wash will flow better, as it breaks the surface tension of water. And then it's just a matter of applying the wash onto the entire model. And usually it's a couple of rounds. It's for me, I keep my washes relatively light, so that I can build up on the tones through multiple wash passes. Looking at some of the reference photos of the filming miniature, it appears that there's a lot of water stains on the underside of the left wing, so I'm trying to replicate that look by allowing some of the wash to just dry there without wiping it off, and hopefully there will be some staining that will be close to the look. Once the model has been washed and dried, I'll then move on to using Tamiya's Weathering Master Kit. Now, to create blast marks, I usually start by drawing the dots with a 0.1 marker pen, and then using a blunt toothpick, I'll just apply the Weathering Master suit just gently, so that it's very subtle. For the torpedo launch tubes, I'm using a very well used cotton bud to apply the suit effect. And the reference photos, there are like a lot of very little black, I'm not sure what they are, some like speckle stains or something like that, and all I did was just take a 0.1 marker and just randomly add dots to certain areas of the wing. And to simulate the rust on the laser tip, I just use a wet brush and apply the rust on the Weathering Master to the laser tip. Now here I'm using some permanent color markers to color the fiber optic lights. And this is the reason why I needed to change the yellow bulb to a white LED bulb. And this is what I mean by white being more versatile to work with. And before I called it done, I took one last look at the reference photos and added details that I missed earlier on. Now here are all the items that you will need to make your own base. So first thing you do is you got to remove the electronics from the stock stand, and there's some plastic covers that are hiding some of the screws, so you will need to remove those, and what I found useful was just a little hand drill will get the job done. Now from this point on, I won't be commenting on the video because I believe it's quite visually self-explanatory, and also because there's many ways in which you can go about making your own display base. And my example is really very basic and not particularly user-friendly because the buttons are accessed from the underneath. But personally, I don't really mind that because I just like my base to look plain and simple without any buttons whatsoever. That's it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching it. I had fun putting it together, and I'm just glad to have another chance to build this fantastic model kit. I have included the link to where I found the reference images in the description below. I hope you'll find the information useful and that this video can give you some ideas of how you can go about your own builds. So as always, happy modeling, and thanks again for watching, guys.